Greetings, everybody. I take for granted you can see my presentation right now, the slide. We are part of the Agile Austin organizations. We connect, we collaborate, and we grow. And specifically here, you are in the leaders special interest group. I'll speak more about that soon. We're the Agile Austin organization. We have a board. We always say, hey, anybody who wants to chat with our board, give feedback, board at agileaustin.org. And we do have elections that are coming up for any of our members. Sorry, I always have to keep an eye on who is in the waiting room, so I let them join. And we have a sponsorship and membership on our site. I tell everybody, just go to our site if you have any questions and check it out. Check it out. It is like very informative, got all information, great stuff there, right? We're a nonprofit, we're a knowledge sharing information org. Our membership is $35 a year, but we do 5 to 6 meetups every year, every month. And we have an annual conference every year, and we meet up in person quarterly, also. So for a small org, we do our stuff. We do stuff. It's really exciting, right? And shout out to our sponsors. Our sponsors make a lot of things possible. Agile Velocity, Resumex, SEMA, Ad Meliora. Thank you, everybody. Great to have you folks as sponsors and things. Now I'll take a second to do an introduction of myself. I am Max Kessie. I have facilitated the Leaders Special Interest Group since 2010, folks. It's been 16 years. And every month, we might take off a month or two in the summertime, at Christmas, or whatever it is. But every month, we meet and we share knowledge and information. That's what we do. And as the leaders group, we mainly focus on leading transformation. I can remember back in 2010, we were talking about Scrum and Sprint, and I've talked more than I'd ever want to about user stories and story estimation, story point estimation. Oh my goodness, way too many discussions on story points. But it's incredible to see the evolution to now, about when now we talk a lot about team empowerment and continuous improvement as of today, and about a lot of things that we see as very foundational for your agility mindset to really flourish, right? We don't talk about process frameworks a lot. We don't talk about structured things like that, but really about what helps people deliver the best value at the fastest pace. We have a bunch of other special interest groups. The only thing I'll say is I'm gonna put the information in the chat of our meetup group. The best thing is just to subscribe to our meetup group, and then you'll get all of the information that comes up of every time these groups meet every month, okay? Folks, if you want to contact us for anything, if someone wants to volunteer, they have information that they want to hear about, contact at agileaustin.org. I'll put it here, contact at agileaustin.org. People are always having to ask questions about volunteer. We have some scholarships that we give for some of the educational programs and stuff. We've got stuff that we're always doing. So if anybody has a question or whatever, just contact us, right? And ask. I don't know how many people here, show of hands or whatever, do shout out, who was at our annual Keep Austin Agile conference on April 10th. I don't know if you were, but it was so much fun. It was so much fun. Thank you, Agile Austin, for hosting such a fun session. I was there as I helped plan it. I was a sponsor. I was a speaker. I was just incredible how I was involved in so many ways. But when you get hundreds of people coming together in person, and we had awesome, from a keynote speaker to speakers, awesome content, it was fun. It was really fun. Today we have Jason. Thanks for being here all the way. Is it or have you guys frozen on me?
You froze on us.
Sorry. Oh, I froze on you, Jason. I'm gonna turn off my camera
We
because
heard you all
of
the
my
way
internet.
from
All the way from Jason. You're joining us all the way from where?
Munich, Bavaria.
Ah, yeah. Thanks for making it. I'll keep my camera off for now until my home internet comes back. Thank you to AT&T Uverse. All right. And on June 5th, we'll have Carrie. There's going to be speaking here. And then we'll take a break for the summer because we believe in work-life balance. Yes. But folks, no further ado. Let us get straight into it. Thank you, Jason, for being here to talk to us about enterprise retrospectives, scaling continuous improvement across the organization. Thank you, Jason. It's all you.
All right,
Round of
Max.
applause.
Thank you,
Sorry for my
sir.
bad connectivity.
Yeah, hopefully by the end it gets sorted out. So, hi everyone. My roots go back to Austin to, 2008 to actually 2006 to 2008. So I worked for NetQoS for a couple of years, and NetQoS acquired a company in Raleigh, actually Durham. So I worked out of the Durham office and would go to Austin. Oh my gosh, I loved Austin back then. Of course, it's changed dramatically over the years, and awesome barbecue, awesome music, just a vibrant place to be. I used to love running in the mornings. I would stay actually up north, but drive down and get there like at 5 a.m. and go running around the lake, the river, the lake, whatever,
Out
Ladybird
late,
and the
yeah.
trails. And my gosh, it was just the best place to be. So just so many great
It
memories. I
still
still stay in,
is.
I
It
still
still
stay in
is.
touch
It's
with
just
people
too
there.
expensive. It's just too expensive now. That's all.
Yeah, and we almost moved there. My wife
Uh-huh.
was like, "This is like Raleigh, but in the middle of Texas." It's like you got the university vibe, but it's very different. So back then, my job was product management. So I worked for NetQoS, managed a product. My experience with Agile goes back to about 2006 when our Scrum Master, who was a co-founder, led the rebellion at our company and said, "We're Scrum now, no more PRDs." I'm like, "All right, great. What do I do now?" I'm like, "You manage the backlog." Okay, good. How do I do that? I'm like, "We got this thing called version one." I'm like, "Okay." So I converted all the requirements to backlog items and everything else. And so, of course, I stumbled sort of into this job and role of working as an consultant and trainer. I'm a certified Scrum trainer now, and Max said I am in Europe, and I'm going to share in a moment like one of the fun things that happened today. But first, I want to get us going with our topic, and I want to talk about enterprise retrospectives. This is a challenge because we've gotten really good at team retrospectives, or I should say, many teams have gotten good at retrospectives. Some teams still are terrible at them, and they don't get it, and they don't get any value. My job, my objective in this time we have together is like to help people actually make retrospectives awesome. And by the way, I have a side rant about how to make daily scrums awesome, but talk to me afterwards if you want to know about that one. But we spend a little bit of time every sprint, or we're supposed to at least spend a little bit of time every sprint, or for Kanban, spend a little bit of time at some interval on reflecting on how to improve what we're doing. But how do you do that when you're looking at the whole company? Whether you're my client here, which is 100 people, or Capital One, who's got 1,000 teams, how do you get a sense of what the heck is going on and how do we make it better? That's kind of my objective. So let's dive in. So here's the user story. Max was talking about estimation, so let's make a user story, although I don't love the Connexter format.
Just don't talk about story points just yet.
I won't. I don't, estimation is one other thing, right? So the acceptance criteria for this talk, for this time we have together, is that based on this premise of finding ways to scale retrospective so you can continue helping your organization or your company improve, I want to make sure that when we leave, you're equipped with some tools to ensure that you can better understand what's working and not working. You can detect when team-based retrospectives just aren't enough. We need to be able to go further. And then you have a scalable process for planning and facilitating high-impact initiatives. That's my job, right? So let's go further, right? So fundamentally, when we look at our organization and what we're trying to do with our Horizon platform is to help empower teams to be more effective in solving problems that we all encounter. And we believe strongly that teams work better with frameworks. And there's hundreds of frameworks. You pick up Scrum, Kanban, but bigger is retrospective frameworks. There's probably 100 of them, right? There's lots of different choices we can make, but teams do work better when they have some structure. So helping Scrum Masters, coaches, team leads, whatever the role name is, whoever's going to guide the collaboration has some framework or structure to help the team be better. So we design and build those frameworks to help teams be successful with some sort of software, whether it's Miro or a team whiteboard in the Microsoft environment or Mural, doesn't matter. But we believe that you can do this as long as you find a way to talk about this more broadly and more expansively with your teams. So when we think about retrospectives, in the chat, if you wouldn't mind, just take a moment here and share, what's working, what's not working, and what would you like to change about retrospectives? If you just pick one or two of those and just share your comments, like retrospectives are working great, or if they're not working great, share why they're not. So just take a moment to do that, and I'll take a look at the chat while you're adding your comments. Okay, so definitely not working, lack of follow-up. Yeah, that's pretty constant, right? The endless action items that never get actioned.
Yeah, like you have a retrospective just because it's on the calendar and
Yep.
everything, go through the motions, but yeah, there's lack
And
of follow-up and key stuff.
yeah, Doug's people don't understand the purpose. Like somebody told us we have to do the retro. We don't actually talk about the important things. We hold it back.
Who else would like to share? Just feel free to drop something on chat.
Now look, I got my mug on camera. I don't see, Max and I are on camera. We're brave. too many action items. Hey, I love that. That is one of my
Prioritize and
number one. I totally agree with that one, like 100%. I try as hard as I can. I said I'm a certified Scrum trainer. When I teach a Scrum Master course, guys, one action item is enough.
that's it.
Holden,
That's it.
what's working? Team engages when using start, stop, continue, and gets lots of feedback.
Mhm.
Managing the sheer volume of feedback that accumulates each sprint. Totally. Okay, 5 steps to
Same thing.
retros. We got to sort through it. Fortunately, AI can help a lot there. If we have time, we'll talk about some tools that we can use for that.
Mhm.
All right. So if we're in person, I'd like actually draw this curve. But the thing that we find when we're doing retrospectives is this idea of drawing the curve. we kind of see this behavior. Like the first retrospective, like, oh my gosh, this Scrum thing's working really great. And by the second, third, or fourth, the retrospectives go like this, right? And sometimes you have a team, right? They might have a pretty great motivated Scrum Master. They actually do better. Like they find incremental progress all the time, 7, 8 sprints. But you know what? There's this thing we never talk about, which is the organizational ceiling. Most teams, and I saw this at all the big Fortune 500 companies I've been at, no matter how much they try and how much the CIO or CTO or whoever's like sponsoring the agile transformation, there's a set of organizational boundaries that they hit, and there's just literally no more improvement they can make. And the question is, what causes this ceiling? No matter how hard the teams try, a year, 2 years into the agile adoption, they just can't get any better. And the developers are like, why are we doing a retrospective? It's the same nonsense every sprint, and yet we just don't change anything. Well, what do we do next? And that's sort of the point of our time together. So let me close this out and get back on track. So when we think about this, I look at this as a multi-team issue, and you get this framing of like ups and downs, and retrospectives are good, not so good, teams check out, and they ultimately lead to like, okay, we have a system problem. It's not just a team problem anymore. And that's what we want to deal with. So when we're thinking about 30 teams, 3 locations, maybe we have like 15 teams in the US, we got 5 teams in China, and a couple more teams in India. Like, what do? We can't fly everybody to the US. How can we possibly design a multi-team retrospective for 30 teams? Like, how's that even possible? Well, that's a real challenge, and we have to fix it, and we have to like deal with that as agile leaders. So here's the agenda for the rest of the talk. So like, why do we care about enterprise retrospectives? What is a process we can use and leverage to do this? What are results, and then what can you do when we're done here? So again, when we look at this curve, we typically see this pattern of, early on is exciting, teams are excited, they're actually executing as you would expect, but then they sort of hit the maturity limit, the organizational limit, and then like things sort of flatline, and why bother with retros? And this may resonate for some of you of like, okay, we're 3 or 4 years in, and teams just don't care anymore. Like, okay, how do we get out of this ditch? And that's sort of the point. So, the warning signs, just like you said in the comments, like, okay, we got all these issues. Are we actually improving anything? Right? Doing work is not the same as getting things done. So what's getting to done? I think there's a definition of done for retrospective action items that we actually need to follow through to complete. The other is lack of ownership. I can't tell you how vague the action items can be from a retro. Who will do what by when should absolutely be the standard by which we identify the clear, measurable, repeatable outcome that emerges from a set of action items after a retrospective. And that's on us, whether as leaders, to ensure that Scrum Masters, developers, everybody on the team recognizes that, hey, look, when we're executing our work, this is part of the work. We expect continuous improvement, so let's get it done. Right? So then you've got
And Jason,
cartoons. The cartoons are fun, right? I'll look bad if I'm the only person skipping the retros. So skip it with me. Let's come up with an excuse, right? And then of course we have the same repetitious root cause, which I would argue at some point teams run into the point where the only improvement that can be made is beyond the team. But how, as leaders, do we organize the input from 10, 15, 100 teams to know what's the most important problem to solve first? Just like a Scrum Master, and I actually think about this in that way. New Scrum Masters frequently run into the same problem. They learn like the great way of doing Scrum or the great way of doing Kanban, and then they meet the real team and like, oh my gosh, everything is wrong. Where do I start? Like, how do I organize and make sense of the system and how I can improve it? And that's the same problem as we scale up of leaders solving important problems. So,
Hey, Jason, I'm sorry, I've got my virtual hand up. I'm not sure if you could see it or not.
I do now,
My
yes.
virtual. Okay, you just yeah. If I may just chime in very, very quick, experience I had with the action items and taking the action items that was very powerful is when an executive leader, a vice president, took an action item. Like we were raising the visibility to certain organizational challenges, and this vice president says, okay, this is going to be tough. It's going to take having to talk with vendors and licensing and all this. And they took the action item. That was like, it's only happened that one time that I can remember. An executive leader took it. Like normally it's like, hey, you scrum master, hey, you agile coach, hey, facilitate this discussion and go take that action item with that team. This leader took the action item, executive, and came back and provided an update the next time we had a large organizational meeting. I'm like retro. And I thought that was very powerful because it was leading by example. Like you even take an action item and do your work to solve it. Right? Very
Yeah.
powerful.
And that's the objective here is like, how do we surface the issues to the leaders who can actually affect and create the impact necessary for the teams to succeed. So yeah, I wish there were more of those outliers. So, when we think about retrospectives and focusing on a single team, that's great, right? They can produce great results. And, you're looking at a photo from a real team, but they still run into the problem of the enterprise issues that affect multiple teams. And you can imagine how this escalates or I guess multiplies when you've got teams in multiple locations or teams that are virtual. They may not even know that they have the same problems as three other teams. And these problems are beyond the scope of any single team, right? And unless we have a really great Scrum Master community of practice, they may not even know that other teams are facing the same challenges. So really, like, we've got to deal with this problem. So when you have multiple teams, we need to conduct an enterprise retrospective so that it's not just one team, but every team. And that's the goal of how we can do this. And there's all sorts of techniques. So when I talk about frameworks, we've got the traditional speedboat framework, the starfish, which I love, right? There's so many ways to shape this: the stop, start, do less, the risk, do more. We've probably got a sailboat, speedboat over here, Mazak ladder, great. Metaphors with mountains and journeys and blockers and the climb. And then we've got the one of my favorites, the quadrant retrospective with appreciations based on Diana Larson and Esther Derby's work with all these really cool techniques, but now we have to amplify it. We need to scale it, right? So there's a technique to apply these online, and there's so many tools that we have available to us to, for example, use speedboat, which is really well known. The metaphor is great. We want the boat, the team, to go fast, but there's anchors slowing it down, and we can place people on line of scale with multiple teams, and we can like collect all the anchors. Like, where are the patterns? How can we find the common anchors, the most heavy anchors that are dragging down all the teams to get the epic win? So there's lots of ways to do this. We're looking at setting scope, and it's more than one sprint. It always is more than one sprint when we think about the enterprise retros. So if we have 10, 15, 50, 100 teams, all of them think about the same framing. Over the last 6 months, or since the last release, whichever is greater, let's look at the whole process from discovery of the backlog item to production deployment. What are the issues? What's working, not working, and where are the opportunities for improvement? So number one, find the teams, find the facilitators. Of course, I know that there are some companies that the Scrum Master role has disappeared. So we need somebody to facilitate each team, whether it's internal or find somebody outside the team to help out. Then we actually need to do facilitate the retrospective. So we do this online, Mural, our tool, to really just like ensure we have the ability to map out the data, like what's really working, what's really bad. And of course, I always look at where the opportunities that are the heaviest anchors, because if you know speedboat, the depth of the anchor is meaningful. So the most significant issues are dragging along the bed of the ocean here in our metaphorical speedboat framework. And note that the items are shared per team. In fact, I would never give a team 40 anchors because it's too much. They'll create duplicate items. I probably constrain a team of 5 people to probably 10 anchors, maybe 15. That way they'll focus together on the most important problems. Because the worst retrospective is the one where people just collaborate with the tool and don't talk. I want people to talk and debate and say, no, wait, that's minor. Let's not even talk about that. We can deal with that. Let's focus on the really, really important problems that we want to identify the leaders to help resolve. And then you can sort of see
So Jason,
yes.
sorry for clarification. Does every team do the retrospective, I mean, individually first, and then they come together as a whole org and do it, share information across teams?
So for a global team, we'd want to do this all probably within the same 24 to 48 hours
Got it.
to collect all the results.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Then we want to consolidate all the results and analyze them and group them. And this is where AI is like supercharged what we used to do manually.
Bingo.
Like I've done
Yeah.
this like
Awesome.
with spreadsheets and coding data, like qualitative research techniques to take 2,000 comments and make sense of them. Oh my gosh, AI has chopped that in half at least to really understand like where are the really important hotspots that we need to focus on so we can actually identify, okay, where are the opportunities and what are the impacts, what's the cost of the change. And that's really what we're after when we look at the analysis, because it comes down to really 3 different groups of issues. We have people problems, and there's some people that say, okay, at the end of the day, it's all people problems. I don't agree. I don't think everything comes down and traces to a people problem. Some problems are role-based. And in fact, I don't even think that it's a people problem as much as it is a clarity of role, clarity of execution, clarity of accountability, or responsibility, depending what you choose as your language. And I believe in responsibility. Christopher Avery and the whole responsibility process is something I believe in. I've done the training and participated in it. I believe in it. And sometimes we haven't been clear with people with their role. So this example is actually still happens. We have product owners that didn't even show up. Okay, let's fix it. Right? That can mean a pattern that we see across the whole company. Or we're not clear on DoD. Well, then let's fix it, right? Then we have tool problems. Now, whether or not we should use new tools or not is a whole nother issue, but we want to categorize the issues so we can make sense of everything before we move on to, okay, where's the scope of control, right? So the team controls the product owner issue. The team may influence DoD because if we have a strong engineering leader, we may need some consistency across teams for DoD. And then we get to, okay, organizationally, we need to agree on version control. Should we all use GitHub or not? Right? So that goes a little bit beyond the whole notion of team versus organization. Now, positivity bias is an issue. So there are some teams that are going to absolutely be a little bit more overconfident in their ability, and we actually need to deal with that and like help calibrate. So when we look at using tools like Miro and Teams or even Zoom, we actually need to review the log to identify any biases and actually weed them out through post-processing.
Oops, Jason, I think you put yourself on mute by mistake.
Yeah, I coughed, sorry.
There
So as
you
we think
go.
about this
You're
as
back.
leaders,
No worries.
we need to be able to go through and evaluate and analyze a little bit more detail to weed out the positivity bias to make sure we have the most accurate picture of what's going on. Okay. All right. This is a segue because I told Max I have a video I want to share first. So today's an important day here in Munich.
Oh, wait. First, do you want to ask who knows what May 1st is known for elsewhere in the
Yes. So does
world?
anyone know what
Put
May
it in the
1st is?
chat.
For bonus points. Ah, Christine. Labor Day. Absolutely right.
But it's
So
not
yes,
called like Labor Day. It's called something else.
it is Labor Day
It's
here.
Workers' Day. I mean, it's
Oh, workers.
Workers'
Okay,
Day.
there you go.
It's
All right.
Workers' Day. I don't mean
Let
to
me
be
make.
specific. Sorry, Jason. Continue.
I want to make sure I get the right sharing here. Hold on. I'm gonna. How do I stop share? Because this won't work if we don't get the full impact.
He's out at the beer garden, hanging out.
It is. It was phenomenal. But I want to make sure this.
He
Oh,
had to leave the beer garden to come to this. I'm
yes. I
sorry, Jason.
sacrificed. I'm sacrificing for Agile Austin. Hopefully you can
I
hear the
didn't have
sound.
to
Here we
It's
go.
raining here in Austin.
And my friends who invited me are over there on the left. So I was like so happy. Like, okay, I've been here for a week and I actually got invited to a little bit of a party. So I had to share
Yeah,
that.
maybe they like you, Jason. Maybe they're getting value out of you and they like you.
Well, little segue for the recording. Be in YouTube forever. Okay. So for
Cheers.
retrospectives. Again, we've got so many great tools now. We can take the results of an enterprise retro with multiple teams and actually see some like heat maps here. This is 42 teams, 350 people, and you can really see all these patterns really start emerging where there's so many strong comments about the technology, the process, some really positive comments, about the teamwork and how it relates to people and process. I mean, just processing the results when you look at the scale here of 42 teams, just amazing what you can interpret and then take action on, right? There's clarity on where to actually focus opportunities to improve based on what you can observe from the results from multiple teams. So now we have an opportunity to say, okay, what are we going to do about this? How can we identify, okay, the small things that are for teams to work out? Let's put together scrum masters, product owners, maybe even developers. And there's some cases where even the developers need to sync up. Like, what should be our unit testing approach? Do we really want the scrum masters to figure that out? Or do we want the developers to align on unit test practices? I mean, that's a team project versus the enterprise projects. Like, look, we need to figure out what is the security posture across all the teams. What's the test automation framework for everybody? That's an enterprise level issue to resolve. So management is definitely involved here in reviewing the results to then agree on which projects should move forward and where to go next. So the idea of buy a feature, if you're not familiar, is a technique for participatory budgeting where we can have leaders agree on the funding, if necessary, for different initiatives or different projects. And then we get into, okay, now we have to execute. Now we need to take the raw results and implement the improvements using Scrum, backlogs, or whatever other technique we have organizationally. There may be a Kanban improvement board, if you imagine in Jira, that would be all about the same related topics. Doesn't really matter. Of course, I'm a Scrum trainer. I care about Scrum. We can sprint through improvements, or we can use the Kanban system to do the same thing. Of course, we want to make sure there's a feedback loop back to the team. So what did we learn? What are we going to do? This can be as a whole, all hands. It could be communicated through senior leaders or individually through teams. But the key point here is people have been heard and that we actually have an action plan. And by the way, if you do this as a consultant, same thing applies, right? We perform enterprise retrospectives all the time for our clients. We want to tell people they've been heard. Here's what we're going to do. I think that's probably one of the most important action items that results from an enterprise retrospective is the action plan and confirmation that people have been heard. Because if you do it again 6 months from now, you want the same quality feedback from the organization that you received the first time.
Very important.
Very important. When you think about planning this out, it's a multi-month initiative. So this is not watered down retrospectives, right? So we want to think about preparing and planning and setting the goals for at least a couple of weeks. Due to the nature of large enterprises, you'll need up to a week to play the games. We did a multi-continent retrospective for the Scrum Alliance using this technique, and it actually took about 4 days to hit every time zone meaningfully with the Scrum Alliance. So we wanted to make sure we had at least 2 or 3 opportunities for every time zone around the world to gather data from the full global membership of the community, and then took about 2 or 3 weeks to get through all the results. I think post-processing is going to be narrowed down with AI. I think that's the reality. This slide probably, if I had to edit it, without AI, 2 to 3 weeks. With AI, maybe a week. Because I still do fact-check AI. It's not perfect.
Yeah.
Do you want to add something, Max?
No, I'm just always agreeing with you, but Jason, just to chime in very quickly. So obviously the cadence of an organizational wide kind of retrospective, you have to think of doing it the right amount where you can give people time to actually do these projects and stuff. And then, it's an opportunity to come back not after forever and say, hey, we've actually done this. And I see you chat like twice a year. Kind of makes sense. Like I was going from like quarterly to twice a year just to so that people can see and feel and remember, yeah, I remember we talked about this in on May 1st. I mean, on Workers' Day. Well, the day before Workers' Day, because we weren't at work on Workers' Day. And then we talked about it in November, just before the holidays came up, right? Like you have to
Yeah,
have the feeling that
that'd be
people
great
can
timing.
recall. Yeah. Awesome.
Yeah, because then you can see impacts, right? Because we're talking about the big
Have to
thing is
see.
they take time to make impact in the future
Bingo.
because it's not going to be like instantaneous. Like sprint to sprint, like, hey guys, let's change the way we do our sprint planning. Next sprint, we're going to check and see if our velocity improves, or we hit our sprint goal, or we complete more of our backlog items to complete the sprint goal. We can see it quickly. When we think about
Yes.
organizational change, it's going to take months to see outcomes from multiple teams, and that's sort of the point.
Bingo. Mhm.
Yeah.
Bingo. Awesome.
Yeah. So on top of that, we've got this curve jump opportunity here where we can see innovation because this is a really cool framework to see. Okay, what are the real opportunities like make big changes? So this is a really fun framework uh, that you can find more information about if you follow with me about curve jumping. But you've got these kind of boring, conservative, we call them zone three opportunities. Like, well, we can make a minor change and make an improvement. Or we've got an interesting idea, but it's not radical. Where are the radical opportunities? You can see some examples here about how creative teams could be. You can imagine, like, if your retrospectives are stale, try this one out, even for a team level retro, because I think they're looking for sparks. Like, how
Yeah.
can you get people to engage more? Well, give them the framework to engage. It's like, what's the most radical idea you can think of that could make our team better or make our next sprint better? And that's really what this is all about, finding the innovation. So, summary, each team works together, does its own retrospective, you analyze the results, you really find those big opportunities, and then you include the teams when you think about the prioritization of the results, and then rinse and repeat. That's really it. And I think it's a really powerful opportunity. So, what questions or comments does anybody have? How can I help?
My
Tools.
first thing as people are thinking about things, tools. I mean, right now in the virtual world that we're in, you've got to think about tools. You've got to think about which in the analysis of stuff, what experiences from an AI perspective is it just generic chat GPT and you put data in there and prompt it and that's it? Is there what's worked the best from a tools perspective?
So, most well known, Miro and their AI
Mhm.
summarization capabilities, probably one of the best options.
There
Um,
you go.
if you're a Miro fan, I do not. I
Yeah.
don't follow Mural. Don't know about them.
Mm,
Um,
yeah.
whether or not they have
Well,
something
the
similar, but they're
information is
so
there
competitive.
already.
What's that?
Yeah. Mhm. Like the information, Jason, is already in there, right? If you use like the Miro tool already, like
Yeah,
all the
I'm just
sticky
thinking
notes and everything you're doing,
if I
it's
created a
embedded.
massive board. So here's what I'm thinking:
True.
if you're a Miro customer and you
Yes.
want to host a multi-team retro, I'd put them all on the same board or
Hmm.
all in the same project, and then
Project.
I
Yeah.
would use their AI tools to summarize and collate information, then export all of it and do my analysis outside Miro,
Bingo.
either manually or with Claude or ChatGPT. because that's the problem. Miro runs into roadblock like everyone else. If you have multiple boards for each team and you're trying to consolidate them in the same project, it kind of chokes.
Yeah.
But if you get all the results out of the summaries for each team, then I can manage it and do something with it, find patterns across teams if I had 100 teams. Um,
Yeah.
our tool Horizon is built for this. I've done this in Horizon with multiple teams. Gosh, I mentioned the Scrum Alliance project. I've done it for 4 or 5 corporate clients. Luke has done the same thing, but it was designed for it because the one thing that Miro, Mural, and other tools don't have is what is built into Horizon, which has been there since day one, is that each object has data behind it. So if you type on it, Max, and I type on it, and Douglas does, it's all saved in the database. So we can actually just download the game activity, right? So we've collaborated in a framework. I can download that all to Excel and shove that into Excel, ChatGPT or Claude, and it'll process all the
Yeah.
information for us.
Yeah.
So I think
Hey,
it's really a
Jason.
question of preference in what you have available.
Yeah. Can you give me maybe like the URL of Horizon so I can drop it here in the chat? I want
Yeah,
to take a look at. I mean, it's or if you want to drop it in the chat yourself. I just think for people to know about it and to go check it out.
we'll do.
And we're doing some marketing here for the tool of your company.
Well, yeah, I mean it's an important problem. I mean, you know,
It's
and ironically, as I was walking back, to the room today, because it's, coming out up on 8 o'clock. It's still beautiful. It's like amazing. It's like almost saying it's like daylight.
yeah.
Um, I was talking to Miro on the way back. I'm like, I used Miro when it was a real time board. I don't know if anyone remembers. Like, Miro wasn't always Miro. Miro used to be a crummy little prototype. Oh, this is cool. I can type on a post-it note on a screen, but there was no structure like there is today.
It
That
was
was
MVP.
10 years
It
ago,
was
right?
MVP.
RTB. It was
Yeah.
fun. It was a cool. I think isn't this cool? Let's use it for a retro. Um, so I'm semi tool agnostic. Of course, I'd love
Yes.
people to explore Horizon, but I'm more interested in teams getting better. I'm more interested in developers and teams not saying like, why do we do retros? Nothing ever changes. And like, why? We need to ask ourselves as leaders, well, why not? What's the
Yeah.
problem? How can we solve the issue? I believe one way of solving the issue is multi-team retrospectives done a couple times a year with motivated, intentional leadership to actually get things to improve. And the
There you go.
opportunities are endless.
The leadership has to be involved. Executive folks, whomever leads the organization, they have to be there. They have to lead by example. They have to take action items on. They have to present status updates on action items, just like everybody else. Just like everybody else. Everybody gets to chip in and work. Folks, any other questions? We've heard the presentation. We're going to be posting the recording on YouTube in a few days. So got all that info, but
Okay,
as
I
we have
know
Jason
lots of
here, because
Anus.
Jason,
Which Anu is here? I want to know what Anu has joined us.
oh, they
Anu
just
who?
joined now. I just allowed a new in just now.
Sorry. I'm going to be off camera, but yeah, I just joined Max, and I was trying to join just before 12, and then I thought I'll wait, and then I got distracted. So apologies.
Something came up, but no worry, Anu.
So is
Welcome,
this my
and you
fellow
can catch
Scrum
everything
trainer
on the
Anu?
replay.
Is this a different Anu? That's all I want to know.
Yes, this is a newer Anu.
It's a newer Anu. It's not your
A
Scrum
different
trainer
Anu,
Anu.
not the
A
famous
different
Anu.
Anu.
My Anu from Capital One
There are a
days.
lot of Anus,
I'm Anu number
Jason.
2.
There are a lot of Anus out there.
Anu number 2.
Anu
That's
number
funny.
2. Oh, you're killing me. Well, Jason, tell us, are you planning to go back to the beer garden after
No,
this? Is it
I'm
still
done. That
going?
was enough. So
There you go.
the funny thing was, it was, the company office manager, my contact here, she's from Finland, so is all of her Finnish friends. So they were switching between Finnish
That
and
are in
English
Germany, yeah, that are in
in
Munich,
Germany. So like
in
she's like,
Germany.
oh no, we're never going back to Finland. The weather's too cold, right? And they brought their kids, and it was just fun, and they had food. It was a blast. So,
It's
Holden,
a
what's your
blast.
question,
Just
dude?
hanging out.
Hi. Thanks for the presentation. I think it was really awesome. I sort of have a general question about retrospectives. So recently, I've started taking our sticky notes, and we use FigJam as part of the Figma ecosystem. It's pretty much like Miro.
Yeah.
But I've been taking those after retro and putting them into, we're using Monday Dev for our BPM. And I have a board in there where I'm tracking the start, stops, and continues. And now we've gotten to the point where like I'm able to assign people who submitted it, people who supported it, and then also who's accountable to like make sure that it gets improved on. And we're starting to see progress there, which is great. But my question is, how do I show the team or get feedback from the team in validating that those things were done like team wide without bogging down the retrospective like ceremony itself? Because we only have a certain amount of time to collect the retrospective notes for that sprint, and ours is actually pretty short. So I'm curious what ideas there are out there to like show that progress and instill that sense of like, yeah, we're improving to the team without wasting half the time or a quarter of the time of the actual retrospective meeting.
2 week sprints or 1 week sprints?
Three, actually.
So that's you're the outlier, Holden.
Yeah.
I would say like 3 week sprints is like only like 15% of the Scrum teams worldwide, because they just don't fit in natural rhythm. So here's what I do. Uh, I would send results whatever time frame you have between your review and your retro, to say, hey, here's the results based on last retrospective. These are data points as we come into the meeting, as short and sweet as you can.
Mm,
And I would add this: I don't know if I heard it from you. I love everything you said. We're gathering information, we're tracking the action items, we're clear on what we're doing in stop, start, continue. But here's what I often see: too many action items out of team retrospectives. I am happy with one meaningful improvement that we're actually going to all focus on improving. Maybe two, but no more than two. If you've got 5 action items and you're tracking them, and maybe they're getting done, maybe they're not, I think it's overwhelming for a team, particularly under pressure, to worry about the retrospective and doing their work.
hmm
So my strategy would be like, take it down a notch and really focus on the 5 steps of retro. Set the stage, gather data, decide, generate insights, like where are opportunities to improve, pick one, decide what to do, then close. And even if you only walk away with one action item, and as a scrum master, here's the hardest part: don't be attached to which one they pick. Let them actually pick one and focus on it. And I think that simplifies your job to your question of how do we talk about what we just accomplished or not after the end of the next sprint. So again, if I have one action item or 2 action items between the review and retro at the end of the next one, like, hey, last sprint we said we're going to improve this and that. Here are the results. Check it out. We'll talk about it when we meet in an hour. That's good enough, right? You've
Gotcha.
done your job.
Yeah. So it sounds like something we're not doing now, actually, which may be good, is creating those or deciding on those action items and having that prioritization conversation in the retro itself.
Yeah,
Okay. Yeah.
yeah.
Because right now it's all focused on collection and not so much on prioritization. And that's like something I'm working with like the process champions after the fact. But that's a good point.
Yeah, yeah.
Right.
I
And
think.
like Jason, oh, sorry,
Go ahead.
Jason. What?
Go
No,
ahead.
like I was just going to say in the prioritization process, I'm not sure, Holden, if you do it already on the board and everything, is all the voting features in there. I think it is so empowering when the team gets to vote, right? Like dot vote or whatever, you know. And so like everybody gets three votes, vote on your top priorities, and then you organically see the team voting and prioritizing things. Like you have to have a strategy of prioritization too. But Jason, spot on. The worst thing you can do is take on too much, right? And then it's just a lot of work. A lot of work for
Gotcha.
everyone.
That's great.
Awesome.
Thank you for the
Thank
insight,
you,
guys.
Holden, for that question. Yeah. And I know we just have a couple comments. We'll end with the comments in there. Gawain, a trick could be to collect like action items during the sprint. Then the retro spends less time in the retro collecting the items. Oh, okay. Have you tried doing that already? Is that something that you do? Like maybe you just have a board that's always there and people can just drop things on the board as it comes up, right? So you don't have to wait to that. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then the
Yeah, it's
Peter
called
also said,
like the retrospective mailbox. And when we were in person, we used to do that.
hey,
Somebody put like a little collection box, and you put them in there.
hey,
Back in the day, right?
that's like
We were
pre-pandemic, Jason.
co-located, man. It was
That
so
was
cool.
pre-pandemic. Like, it's like some people have never worked in that environment, Jason. Some people
Oh
have
man,
never
I
worked.
don't know.
Oh, God. It was like I know the power of co-location and everything. It
Hey
doesn't have to
Max,
be every day. Yes. Sorry.
thank you for inviting me. I appreciate you inviting me, and I
Yes.
appreciate everyone showing up. Even though I can't see you, a new number two, and Gowan, and Jeff, and Holden. Thank you all, everybody.
Thank you, Jason, for joining from
Jason.
Munich. Thank you.
Yep. Thanks, Jason.
Thank you.
And the recording's going to be posted soon enough, and you'll get the communication on the meetup. Thank you, Jason. All the
Thank
best.
The
you.
game in Munich on Wednesday.
Yes.
Oh, yes, Munich. Bayern Munich is playing
Yeah,
PSG,
PSG. Yeah.
Paris
Yeah.
Saint-Germain, in
Be a big
the
deal.
Champions League. That's a big deal.
Yeah.
If they win by, if they have to win by 2-0 to not go on to like extra time. Big game,
Yep.
Jason.
Awesome.
Awesome. Folks, have a happy Friday. Thank you. I'll stick around till everybody drops off. What's up? Thank you
Bye.
for joining. Yeah. Patrick, I see it. A new number 2. Thank you. We're going to promote you to number 1 at some point. Don't worry. Don't worry. Just show up on time. You have to show
Yes.
up on time, then we will promote you to number 1. Okay, Anu?
Okay, I'm looking forward to that day, Rax. Bye. Thank you.
Bye. Take care. Oh, and I will stop recording.